Gentlemen, it's so awesome that we get to sit down and do this here. You know, this is the first time we've been to a location like this on Dropping Gems. We have episode 3 with my dear friends, William Corfield, Jeff Rasawehr, aka Farmer Jeff. How you guys feeling today?
I feel great.
Awesome. Been a great day.
It has been. We've been actually out here for a while already, looking around the farm, and it's just been a calming, exciting day. I'm sure we're all pretty calm between the weather and the animals and the beautiful scenery. This has been, you know, not to knock anybody, but my favorite episode so far because it's so natural.
So this is the goat pasture. We got and sheep pasture. We got a donkey in here, and the dogs are back here too.
Come on in. Everybody friendly over here?
Yep. Everybody's friendly.
Okay. Wow. Pretty nice. A little different than the other office that we go to for you.
Yeah, a lot different.
William here has a beautiful salon in Birmingham where I'm going to get my hair all trimmed up. And this is the other side of his work.
Yeah, completely opposite.
Wait, could we have the goats not while we're filming, or is that something you can't control? Excuse me, sir, with the horns?
Yes.
What do you do with the goats and the sheep? What is the...
Goats originally was for cheese, maybe soap, the goat soap, goat lotion.
Okay.
You know, so it's milk goat.
Yep.
That was the original idea for the goats. The sheep are both fiber and meat.
Okay, got it.
So lamb.
Yep, gotcha.
And then the donkey, he's good for, she's good for keep the predators away. Coyotes won't even really come on the property if they know there's a donkey here
because they'll kick them. William, to start, how did you end up living from, you know, Bloomfield Hills out to this beautiful farm we're on right now? How did that change for you?
Well, it was a culmination of several things. I mean, I've almost always had a garden, always kind of been into making my own things as far as natural goes, kombucha, kefir. I had friends that had a farm in Goodalls. I would go out and help them on chicken day and turkey day, processing. Being out there, I was like, I can do this. And then all it took was 2020 and 100 people are in line at the grocery store being let in one by one. And I'm like, I'm out of here.
Wow.
I'm going to go just grow my own food. And then the benefits from that just are, you know, I can't even count, you know. It turned out to be, you know, we're finding just how much chemicals are in our food. I was like, we are out of here. And we found this place that was end of 2020 that we found this place, closed and moved in mid-February of 21. I remember checking it out on my own first and then bringing Melanie out here. I looked at it on my own. It was like, you know, it's a lot to take on. You know, there's a lot of property, a lot of outbuildings. And I you know, I told Melanie, you should go look at this place too. And she literally walked in the front door of the foyer of the house, which has a ton of history, and just said, I love it. As soon as she walked in, that was
Is that true, Melanie?
So I'm excited I have a blue Hubbard squash in there that I've never been able to grow because it just attracts tons of pests. I don't even think you can find them organically grown. At least I haven't, because they have to put pesticides, but I have a beautiful one in here that I could show you guys.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Isn't it gorgeous?
The great pumpkin squash.
Yes. A blue Hubbard.
Beautiful, but they're supposed to make like a way better pumpkin pie.
Oh,
They're
really?
Sweet.
This is chamomile. So I pluck these and make a tea, and it is unreal, and it instantly calms you down.
This right here?
Yeah.
So, first of all, thank God that your wife wanted to move here, because that would have been a problem.
could have been, yeah.
But, you know, as we walked through the farm today and Melanie was showing us around, you know, you could see the passion and excitement and love for this place.
Yeah.
And this lifestyle, which I know isn't easy, but it's rewarding.
Yeah, she's definitely got a passion for it.
So if we want to have a hot shower or dishes, like clean the dishes, laundry. We have to make a fire every day, including me.
It's underground, heats up the hot water tank, and heats the house in the wintertime when we need it.
It's probably my least favorite chore
Hey,
There's no way to do it without smelling like smoke.
because you smell like smoke, exactly.
It smells so good here. It's such a good vibe. It's so relaxing. I love being here. There's something meditative of chopping wood and burning wood. I would be so happy if I had a situation like this where I could actually use the wood and the burning to, heat my house. I mean, that would be awesome.
All of this work is therapeutic, I'd say.
Yeah.
But there's something specifically about chopping wood with an axe.
Yeah.
That's a testosterone booster.
You got an axe here?
100%.
So
Can I get a quick chop?
You're gonna chop it,
Just
right?
one chop, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Notice how cool it is. They got a windbreak from the west. Used to plant the trees thick like this to block the winter wind and the winter snowstorms.
that's why.
Yeah.
Make the house more efficient.
Wow. Okay. Damn. This is like a sledgehammer axe. Just go ahead and just swing it.
Well, how about I check out your form and then I'll help you.
Okay. It's supposed to break?
I don't know. It's a little bit wet still, so.
Okay.
I have a wedge too if we need that.
Here, let me just try to get it out of there. Hold on. Let me just. Okay, this one. You guys ready for this?
There you go. Nice.
So you have probably more of a job here than even at work.
Yeah. The salon makes this all possible.
You commute every day to the salon?
Yeah, every day I'm behind the chair about 12 hours a day when I'm working there.
Wow. So, what's going through your head when you're driving out from Birmingham back to the farm, and after you just colored and cut all this hair?
Usually, I'm thinking, what can I get done before it gets dark?
Right.
And sometimes I'm out in the dark out here.
Right, because you have to, because this is there's another job. And Jeff, so this is also really interesting because you live in downtown Birmingham. You have a beautiful home.
Thank you.
But tell me about where you're from and what brought you out to Birmingham.
I'm originally from Ohio. Grew up a farmer. Farmed my entire life. My family's farmed since we've been here in the 19th century.
Wow.
Every ancestor is a farmer. I did something really interesting with water in 2011. Got water using a natural system, mixing cover crops with carbon management and calcium to where the water left the farm was tap water clean. From there, went around the country for 9 years and helped farmers put in place regenerative systems.
Okay.
I've been fortunate to become a friend with William and Melanie. And now that I'm somewhat retired from all of that, it's just enjoyable to still get back in the saddle. I still raise some beef in Ohio.
Okay.
I did move to Birmingham, Michigan to be a suburbanite, to marry a wonderful woman, my wife, Julie.
So it was love.
Love, absolutely. It always does it.
That got
first.
you off the farm.
That's what did it.
Okay.
However, I still am. I mean, I still get to come out here. I've got a 53-acre farm and water and a pond close to here that I invite you guys to go fishing with me.
Okay.
Maybe we shoot an episode out there catching some
That
fish.
sounds good.
And the novelty of Farmer Jeff was that when I first moved there, as we know with Birmingham as a suburb, plenty of doctors, plenty of lawyers, even plenty of professional athletes, I'm the only farmer.
That's for
And
sure.
Early on in my age bracket, I'm 59, plenty of Jeffs. There were 3 Jeffs standing there, and one of the gentlemen said, "You're bald head Jeff, you're fireman Jeff, and you're farmer Jeff." And it has stuck ever since.
Where is Jeff?
Hi, Dave. Did you check this corn out? This stuff's like 10 foot tall. I'm 6'8". Look at this stuff. Is that not amazing?
Wow.
4 possible ears shot. How many's on that's possible?
About 6.
6. Most corn only shoots 1 ear.
That's white corn, right? What is
Yes, and it's heirloom and non-GMO and all that amazing stuff.
No way.
How is it?
It's unbelievable. It's almost like it's cooked.
Dirty secret us farmers know, within 4 hours of picking an ear of corn, 25% of the sweetness is naturally lost.
Unbelievable.
It's really good.
Wait, good Daniel.
So this is not,
How good is that?
And look at the soil.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
What were you doing in there?
I was just checking how beautiful it was. And it's cool. It's a hot day here in Michigan. Look at this. Look at the beautiful roots. Look at the worm.
Wow.
Look at the worm. If you on a spade full of soil can get 12 worms, those worms will sustain your nutrient cycle. And you don't have a full spade full, but look how beautiful. Smell how beautiful. Smell that sweetness?
I do.
Mycorrhizal fungi. I can remember when I was a child, my great-grandfather took me out in the farm, smelled the soil. Some of those guys would even eat it. I don't think I'm going to quite eat this.
You do have some on your lip right there.
I do? There you go. It tastes good.
You kissed it. You couldn't see it on the camera, but he did kiss it.
And they would talk about how sweet the soil was. They didn't know 100 years ago that mycorrhizal fungi,
Okay.
which is the fungal community that helps to move your nutrients around and help to supply the nutrients for your plants to give them the nutrient density that we desire, that we've been tasting here on their property. Mycorrhizal fungi produces glomalin. Glomalin is a sugar.
Wow.
So this soil does smell sweet because
Because it is sweet.
the sugar.
Wow.
Just break that loose. Just break it loose. Just break it. Look how beautiful. Look how it falls apart. Look at the aggregation.
There's something else that you break open and smell it to really get the smell. I'm not going to say what it is, but
Will, let's talk about the health benefits of what you're doing, how it affects, your family, your friends, what you provide for them, and how that relates to this life and why you chose it.
Okay. Where do you start with that one?
Well, let me ask you this. In your core purpose of like what you do, how often do you think about like what I'm doing is directly making my wife healthier, my son healthier, my friends healthier when I share the food? Like how often do you think about what you're actually doing? Because I know most people don't think about when they go buy bad food. They're not thinking that this is bad for me.
Right. I think about it all the time because, we eat multiple times a day, and I'm thinking, not only does it taste delicious, and what we've learned from Farmer Jeff earlier is that it tastes delicious because it's full of nutrients, everything that we're growing here. I mean, we think about it at every meal because we're sitting down to eat, and we have meals where we have grown every single thing that we're eating. We grew it here. And that blows my mind because that was never possible in my past life, before the farm, the homestead. So I think about it all the time, and I'll bring in things to the salon. Like I've raised my own pigs, processed my own pigs with my own hands, butchered them, and turned their pork belly into bacon in the kitchen and in my fridge. And I mean, it's the best bacon I've ever had, and everyone loves bacon and everything. And I'll bring it into work, and I'm like, here, you guys try this, bringing it into the salon.
I've seen you bring a carton of eggs or two into the salon. That was when it started.
All the time, yeah.
I was so
People
like, what is going on? What is this guy who's cutting hair out there taking a break to pass out some eggs doing?
Yeah.
But the reason why I asked that question is I want to make the point of, and it was a great answer. It's like, you're not just farming. You're not just growing. You're not just working hard, sweating, and going back and doing it again. You're giving a gift to yourself and your family of clean, pure, nutrient-dense food, which helps the immune system and helps the body have its best results. And when you have sickness and you have disease, which comes from bad food, bad diet in general, the pesticides, the herbicides, insecticides, a lot of that, which causes a lot of issues. We won't get into specifics just to not be censored or whatever, but that creates despair, depression, tragedy, death.
The depression part specifically is, your amygdala is starving for nutrients.
For those at home, what is an amygdala?
It's part of your brain. Jeff, probably more of an expert on that exact.
Let's get into a specific. Let's talk about that.
The amygdala is the emotional control center here in the brain, and magnesium in particular has an effect on the amygdala of the brain. And what you're finding is the food supply, when they do aggregate testing right now, is running under 40% of where it should be.
Okay.
So when you get into nutrient-dense foods like they are producing here, they're getting a magnesium profile in their production close to what it should be for that individual item. For instance, I know, Dave, you picked a fig off my tree this morning.
I did.
Rich in magnesium. That'll probably make you happy this night. Even though you're pretty happy, how can we not be happy visiting this beautiful farmstead.
So that's when someone says, why did you go out to this farm to make this podcast episode? How does that relate to a jeweler, creating a show? It's like, look, I love my family. I love my friends. I've lost a lot of them. I would love to extend their lives. I'd like to make them happier while they're here. We only have one go at this. If we find a way to do that, it's almost like magic, right? God in this world is like magic. Our lives are pretty magical, but normally it's out of our control. We've identified something that's in our control, and that's what's so special about farming at home.
Yeah, I think the next step is going to be, we've gone through the organic movement, which I respect. We're in the regenerative movement, which was an important step. But now we're getting more people talking about how do we get foods that are more nutrient dense.
So this is our loofah, which they're really hard to grow because they like heat. But you can make the fruit be like your sponges.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like a real loofah?
Yeah, like for fun, yeah.
Okay.
So everything did really well. I think that's kind of what we wanted to show you guys. Like, these are unbelievably flavorful, which is awesome.
Wow. Oh, no, that's good.
Is it good?
Oh, yeah. It's better than any tomato I ever had. I'm just kidding. It's all good. Did that scare you?
Let's have Farmer Jeff give us his background, because I've heard this story before and I think it's very special. So, Farmer Jeff, let's go back to when you were a kid and what happened with your grandparents that got you started on even caring about this.
Yeah, in my journey, it was 1991. My grandmother, who I thought was very healthy, 70 or 71 years old, were called over to the house, and she's got colon cancer, and she's not going to live much longer. By no means would I blame any of my relatives, but I can remember walking out in the machinery shed, and there were just chemicals everywhere. And it stood out to me that woman, my grandmother, was drinking the water. And it became apparent to me that even though I understand farmers need to use some, that we still have some responsibility to at least mitigate it, at least manage it. I mean, they've got a system here that don't need to use any. We just tasted some amazing food today that didn't have any. I was fortunate, after I went around speaking about some regenerative principles, Dave DeVries, who I hope we has a guest sometime from Stratford, invited me to hear a man speak named Graham Sate. And Graham Sate on nutritional farming systems is, in my opinion, probably the best in the world.
So, Jeff, if you don't mind, and I'm sure William would like to hear this story too, can you just give me a quick timeline and a little bit of what happened? So you discovered these chemicals, right?
Well, I knew them, yes. I was concerned, yes.
Okay, you developed a concern because of the water was obviously being poisoned.
Yeah.
What did you do next?
Over the years, I worked on ways that I could farm, and I was not organic. I was not organic, but how to reduce.
Okay.
How do I reduce how much I have to use?
Okay.
And reduce my effect? And then what methodologies could be used to manage the water so the water be cleaner? And there's things, restoring carbon in the soil chelates, locks up some of these things that we don't want to be released in the water. And there's things that can be done that allows you still to produce a quantity of food, but produce a food that's got a better quality.
So just to kind of organize this, you're talking about large production, doing it the safest way possible.
Correct.
Still protecting the crops, using minimal amount of chemicals, keeping the water clean through a natural method.
Correct.
What Will's doing is what kind of, we want to, not everyone can do what you're doing, but we want to give them kind of this inspiration from this episode, build that garden, get going with it.
You can do it on a small scale.
And not needing any pesticides, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Now,
Definitely.
Jeff, what was the technique that you used to clean the water up that you discovered that your grandma was drinking?
Well, the key is the soil biology.
Okay.
If you sustain the integrity of the soil microbiology, that will produce the glomalin, which is a biotic glue, which will stabilize the nutrient base. Really cleaning the water up in America, in my opinion, whether it be the disaster lake areas at times, the water where I live was not, Grand Lake St. Mary's at times has been putrid. It's not that hard, and farmers will make more money, and it will give you a better quality food.
What was the technique that you were talking about with the crops? Can you get into that?
With cover crop systems, what they do is during a fallow period, you select plant species to sustain the microbiology of the soil.
Okay, so what would that, in layman's terms, what were you doing?
You would harvest, let's say, a soybean crop, and then you'd follow it up with another set of plant species that during that break period, harvest, the soybeans harvest, let's say October 3rd, you're not going to plant corn to, let's say, May 20th. You want something green and growing because the soil microbes need what's called an exudate from the plants. That stimulates them and sustains them. And so you need to have living plants to sustain the soil microbiology.
And then, so what would be the difference between the water that comes through there before and after that?
The difference would be you'd have water, it'd be tap water clean.
Okay.
And if you tested it, it wouldn't have particulates. It wouldn't have phosphorus. It wouldn't have nitrogen. And what's happening at glomalin is stabilizing. It's that same sweet smell we smelled in the garden.
So let's try to paint a picture that's real simple. So you have all these crops.
Yeah.
You have the chemicals going in that a lot of people are using. You can't stop a lot of people from using chemicals.
But you can use less.
Right. So let's say this guy says, I'm not going to stop using chemicals or whatever. And he's providing food for a lot of people.
Correct.
All that water comes down with all that chemicals without the cover crops that you're putting in there, and the water's poisoned, right?
The key is the soil biology.
Okay.
Farming is about life. We've seen beautiful life here today. You need to keep life in the soil.
Okay.
That's the key. You got to keep life. So when the soil does not have life, it does not function properly.
So by planting those other crops, is it kind of like a filter?
It does, yes, because the glomalin does that.
Okay. So you created a natural filter for the chemicals.
For the water to pass through. And again, we still have a situation. What William is doing is amazing.
Right.
We need 10 million of him in America for his own family and selling to some of their neighbors, but we're still going to need to buy some. Mm-hmm. That's the reality of life. We need the food that's bought at these big box stores. We can have a better nutrient density profile.
Okay.
And there's ways to do it. And if we can, with these episodes, I'm being optimistic that hopefully the public's going to like what we're doing.
Right.
We can be informative enough. We can maybe drive the big producers to want to produce a more nutrient-dense food.
What Jeff is referring to is Jeff and I have a pilot in mind that we're working on, which would be Jeff going around to different farms and kind of highlighting what we can do here much better than we're already doing, and inspiring the public to kind of take an interest in this, because if enough of the consumers change their outlook on what they're willing to accept, then, obviously it's business. People will cater to the customer's needs. So just in summary, so you discovered that your grandmother potentially got sick from the chemicals, right?
She did have cancer for sure, and she did pass in short order, yes.
And I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And then from there, you changed how you farmed, right?
I reduced my input, and I did more diversity, and I got into raising a lot of forages, which, as you guys know, both you guys buy beef from me.
Right.
I was using a mixture of plant species to stabilize. Nature needs diversity.
Okay.
And what we've seen here that's just amazing here today, they got diversity.
Right.
Life's about diversity.
Okay, so that's a little bit of your background. So, back to Will, because this is something that I think anyone who's watching this, including myself, I'm going to get started with my garden because I want to be, even a tiny piece of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Tell me what an average day on the farm is like.
First of all, you can see how I've learned so much from Jeff and applied it out here. He's just a wealth of knowledge I can't even begin to say.
Because you didn't know anything about farming.
No.
Nothing.
No, I just, I've had gardens.
Right.
I never used chemicals. I never wanted to use chemicals, but I didn't know how to create an ecosystem, like we've got going here.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the ecosystem. When we were out looking at the animals, they didn't really have any bugs on them, which is kind of strange. I usually go to a petting zoo or something, and there's bugs everywhere. Mm-hmm. How did that work out?
So yeah.
I think the donkey has something to say. John, can we put the camera on the donkey for a second? In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Parfait.
Yeah.
Parfait. Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Is he a little buddy? He's like your friend?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, he's beautiful, isn't he?
Yeah. She.
Oh, she. I'm sorry.
Something interesting. A lot of times you get a goat or any kind of an animal in a monoculture system. Bugs all over them. Look at that. There's no bugs.
Yeah.
And that's because of the chickens.
The chickens, it's an entire ecosystem. Look how healthy, look how beautiful that is. There's just nothing. There's no bugs, there's no ticks, there's no fleas. very healthy. That's awesome.
And she free eats minerals. There's like 16 different minerals that she gets to choose from, and that helps to keep her healthy, keep the bugs off.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is kind of like experiencing a small, old-fashioned farm that, you know, a couple could handle like you guys do. This is your home, this is their home, and everyone kind of works together.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have an ecosystem here. You know, kind of caught us by surprise. We just jumped into it, and you know, I mean, that was our goal, but it was kind of amazing how it all comes together if you let nature take its course.
Really, it's keeping everything balanced. That's the main thing, keeping everyone healthy, feeding everyone, you know, nutritious food, what they need, making sure the animals have their minerals. And that helps to keep everything in balance, all of those factors.
You had mentioned, like, for instance, there was an animal that was eating one of the bugs that normally is on the other. What was that?
So, I mean, the chickens, we got, I don't know, roughly 60 chickens or so. And then we've got 6 geese, about 7 turkeys. But the chickens, they eat around 80 ticks an hour. And so in the beginning of the year, you'll find some ticks here and there. But once the chickens get going, there's no ticks.
Wow.
And I know ticks, you know, that's a big problem in Michigan.
Yeah,
and
for us
I'm sure
too.
elsewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then your other question about what does a day look like? I can have an entire day planned out of what we're going to do, and the farm lets me know otherwise, because there's always some kind of issue that comes up, and the plan changes on a dime.
Electric fence, what's going on with that?
That means one of these ribbons of hot wire, which you might not want to touch,
Careful, John, careful.
is shorting out a little bit on one of the posts. Yeah.
Daniel, you okay? Daniel, didn't you hear what I just said or no?
We were just
I
saying,
was like, hey, back up, it's a shock fence.
better than a cup of coffee.
Are you okay?
He's like,
Yeah, if there's anything else that's dangerous, just let us know so we can avoid it.
no, just the electric
shock
fence. Just from feeding the animals what comes out of the garden, they don't get everything, so some of the seeds fall to the ground,
And
and
then it just grows.
we've got squash and pumpkins just growing all over the place naturally, and every single time one of those plants is growing naturally like that, it never has insects. They're the healthiest plants on the farm.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, so
Okay, so let's talk about today. Before we got here, what'd you do at what time did you start?
We started at 8 this morning.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, some days we start earlier. Generally, we start at 8. And it's a lot of cleanup because this is 100-year-old plus outbuildings, and they all need attention. The livestock well that I have for the cows and the chickens and everybody, that breaks down regularly.
It's an old school well.
It's old. It's underground. There's a little cave underground there that I have to go into to fix it.
Oh, wow.
So if that breaks down, that changes the plan for the day.
Just water coming up from the ground when you need some water?
It floods in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So
From like the groundwater from the water
it
table?
seeps in through the rocks.
Okay.
And fills up that little cave.
And that's what
then
the
I gotta
animals
pump.
drink?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's well water.
So you're taking care of these animals from the earth. You don't
Yeah.
have to pay for
Yeah.
water, right? It's just coming
Yeah,
in
there's
there.
no softener on that one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you feed them?
We feed them organic alfalfa from a farm out in Brown City.
Okay.
That's what the sheep and the goats eat. Cows,
they love box elder.
Could you grow that?
we could grow it. We've got 5 acres back here that we're not utilizing just yet, other than to pasture the cows.
Okay.
So yeah, eventually, I mean, that's the idea. It's only been 3 years here,
Okay, gotcha.
so we're still finding our way.
I see. But eventually, what they drink and what they eat could all be just growing and coming from here.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, there is a quarter-acre movement of people that are, they have a few chickens to get that ecosystem going, and they've got their garden.
Starting somewhere.
Yeah.
It's happening. Royal Oak, I know some people.
Yeah.
Berkeley, I know some people.
That 5 acres be possible. He could use the goats to get it under control, and then do some rotational grazing with the steers and produce a good portion of the feedstock right there.
For those who don't know, if you have a huge area that you want cleaned up, instead of hiring someone, you can bring a bunch of goats in. They'll just munch it up, and it'll be done.
I mean, pigs too that do the same thing. They'll root it up. They do a great job too. If you follow the animals in the right way through all the pastures, which I have back behind the barn, I have 3 paddocks built, and then the idea is to rotate animals that are inside of each paddock, certain animals following each other to bring the soil back to life and control the amount of manure and bugs, everything.
Do you have enough food growing here where you don't really have to buy any food, or do you still buy?
We buy some food, but the main things that we eat, we could probably, if we had to, we could probably go like right now, we could probably go a good year without having to go to the grocery store. It wouldn't be like super diverse eating,
Right, but you could.
but
get
we
by.
could do it. Yeah.
And on average, I think people spend between $100 to $200 a week, if not more, on groceries.
I'm sure.
Than eating out. Depending on the budget. Some people spend $400 or $500 a week, depending on the size of your family.
Your family is, yeah.
Then you have like DoorDash, and then you have. Can you DoorDash out here?
I don't know.
Oh, you never tried?
No.
And then so you have your.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
So, one of the things about modern life that's kind of maybe a topic nowadays is financially, people are struggling all over the place in all industries. I mean, you name it, in the past couple of years, it's been tougher for most people. What I love about this lifestyle, and what I encourage people at home to kind of start doing, is to take back some of the power, into their lives of, get healthier, save money, and be happier. All of those are possible with growing your own food.
Well, I think a lot of the time the thing that stops everybody, and I tell Melanie this all the time, it's like you have to give up convenience.
Right.
You got to put in the work for it. So it's like, how much do you care?
Right.
How much do you care about your health? How much do you care about like what you're eating? How in touch with it are you eating? I know that's another huge thing. People talk about being in touch with your food, being in touch. Well, when you're doing this, you're in touch with it.
There's been a lot of studies done that, let's say you're driving and you're eating an apple, you won't get the same nutrient absorption as when you are sitting looking at the apple and giving gratitude for it. It's kind of about your mood when you're taking in the food.
I could see that.
To grow it, pick it, then eat it. There's so much gratitude, whether it's raising the animal, whether it's the eggs, whatever it is.
I bet you if you're barefoot standing there eating it outside, you even absorb more.
The grounding.
You will.
I think that, I hear about people, there's on Instagram, TikTok, it's all like the groceries from last year, the groceries from this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, everyone wants to live close to the city so they can be at the job and do all this stuff. I'm seriously considering getting into this kind of lifestyle myself, because I said to a bunch of friends of mine, and they're all interested. I said, David, if you get 50 acres, we'll take a couple acres. We'll take a couple acres. I said, wouldn't it be cool if we had each a little area, and then we can kind of go into work when we want to go into work, when we have to, and we can all kind of look after each other and help each other out. And everyone that I said it to who actually would do it, one guy lives in Fenton and probably would do it. Another lady I know, she's huge into gardening. I think we're all kind of longing for at least part of that lifestyle. But it's almost like somebody could look at you like, this is a novelty. This is like, he wants to be the farmer. But when you get into the deep part of it, it's kind of what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it's the best way to live.
I definitely didn't look like it. Like, I want to be a farmer.
Right.
I didn't even know I wanted to be a homesteader. I just wanted to eat food without chemicals
There
in
you
it.
go.
I wanted my kids to know what that was like, and not to be, a slave to boxed food. And
Right. Only as healthy as we are allowed to be with what we buy and what we have
Yeah.
access to buy.
Yeah.
So if you're not able to farm, farmers markets is probably the best way to shop.
Yeah.
That would be number one. at home, you want to be healthier, go to the farmer's market instead of the store. Number two, I think connect to farmers. Try to find people like Will.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole movement in Spain to know that farmer.
Right.
And in Spain, the movement is, I respect certification. I think there's value in that. I do respect USDA, what they do for the meat to ensure quality. But at the end of the day, William, you know what he's doing.
Right.
You want his eggs. You're probably going to leave here and say, hey, William, will you raise me 10 chickens next year?
I will. Yeah, if he's down. Yeah, maybe get a cow.
We do that. This is the first year we haven't done meat chickens, but we've done meat chickens in the past. And,
Okay.
we had our own cow that we were milking for a while. So we had raw milk all the time. We raised the pigs on the raw milk, whatever we couldn't drink, because she was producing like 4 gallons a day. And so whatever we couldn't consume, we gave to the pigs. So,
I was looking, I was thinking like maybe I should hit you up for like Thanksgiving and get a turkey, but me and this turkey over there kind of bonded. So I think I might just have like tofu
you can bond
on Thanksgiving.
even better with them.
I'm going to might go
Completely
vegetarian
consume
after this.
him.
Well, it's a red bourbon turkey, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's too nice to kill. I think I'd rather just want to hang out with it over at the farm by the swing over there. Maybe take it on the swing and just kind of hang out with it.
If you don't mind,
My 6-year-old might feel different. that turkey terrorized him.
Oh,
He just stopped.
I'm not an eye for an eye kind of guy. You got to kind of forgive.
Yeah.
if you don't mind, this is the egg you.
Yeah, I picked that one early.
So when I gather eggs, if there's a chicken in there, I grab it by the same
Let 'em
feathers
know.
that the roosters do and kind of move them out of the way.
Okay.
They're fine. Watch your head. Watch your head. Just this part right here, that's all. Let's see if there's... This is their favorite laying area here. Yeah, this is full of, there's definitely eggs under.
Holy shit.
No, you're fine.
Sure?
Yeah. See, she knew that I come here to get the eggs, so
Oh,
she got
so
out
she got out of there? So just go ahead and, because there's a lot of those birds in there. I think you got to get this angle.
I think it's going to be better. We'll get the most fresh egg if you reach underneath one of the hens and grab an egg from underneath.
You think Peggy won't hurt you?
It won't hurt.
I
A
promise.
little. Like the doctor, it's going to, a little prick.
No, I don't know, man.
It won't hurt.
Yeah. But you can push her out of the way with one hand and grab it.
Fear, so don't show fear.
Oh, yeah?
The animal voice says fear, don't show fear.
There's no roosters in
He
here.
seems like he's turning up a little bit.
It's a she.
Okay. He's looking at me weird. Watch. Should we tag team it? He's not going to do anything? Or she?
Go ahead.
Should I just pet him real quick? Just grab it?
There it is. There you go. Your first egg.
Wow. Hey, let's get out of here before we get clucked. No, that's a nice egg right there.
You want to crack that and just show
Yeah, I could
our
crack that.
viewers how beautiful that egg
hold
is,
it.
the yolk?
It's,
Hit the side.
usually I hit. Can I hit it on the table there?
Yeah, hit it wherever you
Crack
want.
it.
Oh, one-handed.
Wow,
Look at the rich, beautiful yolk.
that's a nice egg right there. Yep. Oh, it's okay. As long as you're okay with making the mess. See, that's a nice egg.
I mean, even the whites.
Should I just give it
hang
a nice
together.
little taste? No, I'm just kidding. We'll wait till we.
Eat the yolk, right?
Yeah.
We said you can eat the yolk. Don't eat the whites raw because they actually take nutrients from your body.
Okay,
When
I
you're eating a white raw.
So, not sure that you guys would know this off the top of your head, but if you can kind of estimate, and we won't hold you to it, what would you say the nutrient density of food that's grown kind of almost, you call this like wild in a natural ecosystem all together? We talked about earlier, you have these weeds that are keeping the pests away. You have these animals that everything's helping each other. What's the difference? Like, let's say store versus out here. What's the nutrient difference?
I believe that whether it be the sweet corn, the tomato, the egg, will hit its actual potential.
I see. What it's meant to be.
Yes, because each will have a variation anyways, including the fig we picked this morning. Naturally, the tomato will have a different assessment analysis, but it will hit its destiny. it will fulfill its destiny. That's the key.
Is part of the issue that when you have let's say you have I don't know, aren't major farms thousands of acres, right? Like
Correct.
So you have thousands of acres. Every single plant is just taking everything from the soil, and it's year after year. So you're just basically overworking the system.
That there is that belief, and there is some depletion that can occur. There is a view in regenerative agriculture that if you get the soil to function, and that's the microbiology, that a lot of the nutrient base is still there. It's just not available. So it's the key is that microbiology, sustain the soil biology. In my opinion, if you can sustain the living system in the soil, a lot of things will correct.
Is that kind of like saying the microbiome of your stomach is helping your immune system?
Same thing.
Same
Yes,
thing. So
same.
nature is repeating the issues and the benefits inside the stomach, in the soil.
Correct.
It's all the same, which is, if you believe, I don't know if anyone believe in God, it's almost so perfect and designed so perfectly. I mean, it's just unbelievable how it works.
And the good news is we can get large-scale producers can do this. And I do think they're heading that direction. And I think what's cool is if we can get more of an interest in the public.
That's your mission.
Yeah, the public to desire it, we can drive the big box stores to provide it. And they can. I do believe they can. I'm an optimist.
Okay.
I still love getting food from William Corfield, supporting the small farmer. The reality is we're always going to need some of those big box production. And if we can help drive them to producing a more nutrient-dense food, we're all going to be better off.
Part of that nutrients in the soil question that you had too, that Jeff answered, that's where the cover crops come in too. Because if you're planting the brassicas, like turnips, daikon radish, they can reach down 20 feet down in the soil and bring the nutrients back up to the surface. So all of that, part where you're saying, there's no nutrients left in the soil. Well, they're not on the surface.
I see.
So that's part of the cover crop job.
Are many of the big farms doing that?
We have an increase, and I will give them credit. There are now some things being done in the biological realm that's really exciting. And there are some companies that are doing things to enhance the biological paradigm that I really respect. I'm not going to plug any in particular. That's not what we're here for. But there are good things happening.
Okay.
That's the good news. There are good things happening. And, I think as we help to create greater awareness in the public,
Right.
we can help drive those good things.
I think it's kind of interesting that, and maybe a bit concerning, that there's no way for the public to know what farms are, nutrient dense or doing things that will help the nutrient density and what aren't. So you could be buying groceries for 25 years for your kids and your family, in a row, and never once, no one's ever going to mention, there's no talk. The grocery store has no, the grocery store, organic,
Right.
Mm-hmm. Nutrient density and how things are grown and what the soil is doing, that is not common knowledge. And,
you got to work for it a little bit.
But what's interesting is our wine industry does do that. It's called bricks testing.
Okay.
And we are moving now to where more and more of the food paradigm is looking for methodologies to test it. And again, I'm optimistic we're heading that direction.
Because, Jeff, I know that you want to create this show that is going from small farm to some medium and larger farms that are all respecting this concept.
Right.
And again, why do I care? All of this is coming from a deep place of love and respect and hope and prayer that we remain healthy. We remain here.
We need a healthy society.
Right.
We need it.
It's heartbreaking. When I lose somebody in my family, I've lost people very young and friends to being sick. You never know exactly what it was, but I know for sure that they weren't eating nutrient-dense foods. And it was no one's fault. No one's educated.
Whether it be an outbreak of the flu or any virus season we have, the reality is the people that are having a better diet,
Right.
eating the nutrient-dense foods, have the better immune system, are faring better.
Will, let's talk about this for a second. What could somebody do at home right now to get a little garden going? It's almost winter in Michigan. Mm-hmm. What could you do inside the house? What could you do?
You could still prep for a garden, like a raised bed garden, like the flower garden that we have. That's a raised bed garden. You could bring in compost and cover it with leaves, and then cover it with plastic, and let that all break down and over winter, and be ready to plant in the spring.
Okay.
Depending on what kind of gardening you wanted to do, but yeah, that's how you would start now.
Okay.
Right now, yeah.
And then
being September, pretty much.
is there like, herbs wise or anything like that? Do you guys do stuff in the house in the winter, or?
We do starters in the house.
What is a starter?
Plant the seed, let it germinate, begin it, to grow. Just the little, 2-inch plants or
Right.
that you go buy at the store. You can start those at home. You can do it with if you have an organic tomato that hasn't been irradiated, you can save the seeds from that. Rinse them off, put them on a paper towel, let them dry, and plant those in the spring.
Gotcha. So it's a lot of prep, and it's the perfect time for us to put this out because we can get everyone ready.
Yeah.
Are there any like websites or anywhere that you recommend like to learn about this that you guys have, looked at, or any companies that like with certain seeds that you think are better than others, or?
I'd love to answer that, Jeff.
The Graham States gentleman I referenced earlier, he has a website and it's free access. You can go there and read anything he has. That's on nutritional farming systems. I guess I'm plugging somebody, but it's free.
It's okay.
And if it's good for our viewers, that's win-win.
But in a perfect world, if you want the most, the best nutrient dense food, would you try to find something wild that you can kind of take their seeds from it? Obviously that'd probably be better, right?
Yeah, heirloom definitely is better, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
So if where, your grandpa's got a tomato plant, it's been there for a long time. Like my grandfather had a raspberry bushes of them. And, that would be the best because it's all about going as close to the wild food as possible.
And the only way to get to destination is take that first step.
Right.
We'd love to hear or see, in comments from our viewers that people are going to do something, whether it's prepping a garden patch. Again, I allude to the fact I'm real proud of our fig trees outside the house, and you picked a few, and I encourage you to pick a few. You may not be buying a 10-acre abandoned dairy farm, which is what this is, a dairy barn, a 10-acre barn. The house was not abandoned, but the buildings were. Mm-hmm. And if you don't mind me sharing with our viewers, Dave, what's cool, we were this morning in a suburb with some of the beautiful cars, and without going into that, and all the really cool stuff. Yet the coolest thing I've seen today is I keep looking up, and there's a hand-hewn beam that 100 years ago they would have cut by hand with an axe to build this barn.
As far as the animals go, you have probably 10 different kinds of animals here? Something like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Could be.
How much work is it with them, or is it kind of like they have their own little thing they do?
It depends on what kind of animal. I find the cows and the chickens and ducks to be the easiest. They don't need a ton besides either the pasture that they're grazing on or hay, whatever mixture of hay it is, which we do organic with that. The chickens, we do feed the chickens some grain, but the chickens, they just forage all day. And the ducks even forage even more. The highest maintenance animals are the goats and the sheep.
So if somebody wanted to, there is a way to kind of have a modern, little bit of an easier farm. You could pick certain animals, certain crops that kind of do a lot of their own thing, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to have a full-time farm job and you want to have something going on, you could.
Yeah, plant perennials, like the raspberry bush you were talking about, chestnuts, which we have growing, the fruit trees, anything perennial, you don't have to weed.
What is a perennial?
It is something that grows back on its own every year.
Okay.
The garden, all the garden vegetables are all annuals.
That would be perfect for the suburban people that we're talking to here, which is me and everybody else. Part of what we want to do as a society, what we would like to do as a society here, sitting at this table, is encourage a reasonable way for somebody to impact the health of their family and community. So to summarize that, when I go home, I'm going to think my backyard, I wanted to put some privacy arborvitaes. Instead of arborvitaes, which everyone does, how much money are people spending on these tall arborvitaes, which is ridiculous. They die a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. Those could be food producing plants.
They could be, yeah.
So, guys, drive through Birmingham, drive through Bloomfield Hills, drive through Huntington Woods, drive through any suburb, Berkeley, Royal Oak Park, go to the east side, go to the west side, go to Detroit. Which there's a lot of cool urban farms popping up in Detroit, which is cool. But go to any of those cities, Look at the front yards, look at the backyards. Most of them do not have food, but things are growing. Every year it just pops back up. It's crazy how fast all these little plants grow. If we were to replace a lot of that with food that's perennial style food, that alone would change all of society, right?
It'd be a huge impact.
It would be insane.
Yeah.
So let's try to, we might need to put this on a shirt or a hat. I think, Jeff said it earlier, know thy farmer, become thy farmer. So I'd like to challenge anyone who listens to this podcast to look at their backyard, look at their front yard, look at their community center. Is there a way you could change the landscape of your home and make a really easy way to become a mini farmer? We'll call it a gardener, but we'll call it mini farmer. Mm-hmm. I think that could be a cool wave we could start. And if you help me do it, I'd start with my backyard.
I'm ready.
Let's do it. You guys want to help me make a farm?
100%.
If you guys see me in my grandpa's old overalls, you're gonna know why. Let's look at a neighborhood like Oak Park or Berkeley, where the homes, let's say Oak Park. Let's talk about those price points of like a lifestyle. Could you have a place like this for the same costs as a place in like, let's say, Oak Park or Berkeley?
I did buy it for the cost of some of those places.
Do you mind sharing how much this was?
It was around $300.
A lot where there's, a backyard the size of maybe this part of the barn, or 3 times maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah. My grandparents lived in Madison Heights.
Perfect example.
And right on Campbell. And my grandpa had, the backyard was a garden, and he was growing, mostly tomatoes, but beans and some grapes because he made wine. But he grew it all in his backyard. Everything that they, in the summertime, all the vegetables we ate were from that.
So you have
garden.
both. You can do it there, but for the same price, you could have a homestead like this.
Yeah.
Many times the farmstead, the original farmstead, if the rest of the acreage had been sold off, you get the buildings basically for de facto free.
Okay.
And you get a pretty good price. It's not uncommon. There's multiple times I see on real estate listings properties like this close to Detroit, close to our suburbs in a half hour that aren't that bad a price. But, like the barn we're sitting in, it was an abandoned barn.
Right.
It does require some effort.
Yeah. Right. I mean, this whole area was filled with hay. From that door back to that wall, almost up to that beam that I had to clear out. This was filled with hay all the way up to the ceiling. You couldn't walk through any of this. We had to clear it all.
So to me, one of the coolest parts about this is, even if somebody didn't have a ton of money to buy a place, they had maybe a partner in it or 2 partners or something like that. I mean, look at all the land here. I mean, if you can get a place like this, an oasis where you can grow your own food, you have your own water supply, you have all these perennial plants and these groves basically that you're growing. You have a great place for even events and weddings. I mean, these things could be converted.
Yeah, we've talked about that for this barn.
There's so much value that, we're talking about America because we're here. The average American is stuffed into these small places, surrounded by noise and concrete and all this stuff, paying crazy prices for food that doesn't have any value to it compared to the original food that our ancestors had. All of it is less expensive and also could be profitable compared to the modern lifestyle, and you'll end up healthier and happier and probably in better shape. To me, this seems like a really good investment in every single way possible. And I think people need to start using the word investment with a grand scope of what should be,
definitely, Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's an investment.
That's so cool.
In every aspect of your life.
So I'm going to go sell this watch and go buy one of these. Put some money down and try to find me a spot nearby so I can call and say, Will, my hair's long. I need the back of my neck cleaned up, and I can't figure out this cow won't move.
And you need a wonderful lady for a partner like Melanie.
Yeah,
that helps.
You guys have a great thing going on here.
Yes. You need the support and everyone to be on the same page.
Right. Somebody who shares that vision.
Got to keep that goal in mind,
And again, if 300,000, so some people say 300,000, that's nothing for a house.
Right.
Some people say 300,000, I could only spend 100 on a house. I could only rent for 600. If you're really having, in a position where you can only spend $600-700 a month, I mean, a $300,000 mortgage with a couple people, you might be able to pay $500-600-700 each to have a place like this, and you could produce things you can sell.
The USDA does offer a first-time farmer home loan buy that's cheap.
Really? Low interest rate for farmers?
And they can go Google that. There is for your first time.
Wow.
For a beginner.
I found out
There is that option, and the interest rates are greatly reduced, and you don't have to have much down.
So first of all, I just want to thank you guys for sharing all this knowledge with all of us. You dropped so many gems. It's not the last time we're going to talk about this. I think the next time we'll maybe go on a trip and visit one of the farms that Jeff wants to show us, and keep doing that and keep raising this good awareness. I commend you guys both for bringing this to everyone's attention, for sharing your eggs, for inspiring all of us to have a healthier, happier life. I thank you for being my friends and being willing to come on my show. And I really, really, really am floored and excited to go back to my neighborhood and start effecting some change for myself, my family, and my whole community. And I hope we can work together on that. I think it'll be a great year ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
My pleasure.
Thanks for making us part of this.
Dave, William, thank you.
My man.